was saying that it was important to know about the white that white drilling day, because I didn't know that, and that was a really horrible thing to be required to do.
So if that was 1992, when was the first time you came out? That's what.
1993.
In Summerville.
In Summerville. And Anna was there, having brought this group of young people to Hazelwood in Devon.
And as the journeys progressed, and Hazelwood was like the conduit that it kind of came out of. I don't mean Through Heart to Peace came out of, but our part, our support. That was the place that it came out of, and I think I also wanted to say today, you know, so it was a big house. It's sold out. It isn't no more. Well, it is. It's beautifully, but it's a family home again now. We ran it, or it ran us, for 29 years or something. I think it was. And it was a family home, and we only bought it because it was going to be divided up. It was a lot of land, a big estate and a big house. But I think all I wanted to say was, yes, we did B&B there. We did, you know, we had people come and stay. We hosted people's workshops. We put on our own events. We did a lot of cultural events and music and wonderful, you know, exciting things. But we also hosted, like the group that Anna came with, the children. But we also had children from Chernobyl. We had children from Armenia. And we had many Bosnians came, you know, Suda came and sang for the first time in a very, very long time in the dining room. And the cellist, Vedran Smailovic from Sarajevo, he came, you know. And Dino, who's a most amazing composer, he came. What?
How much
So naughty. So I think all I wanted to say was that it was a place of encouragement, and often, oh sweetheart, thank you for all your gifts.
Thank you for your
gifts. Well,
like a notch. Like a notch.
And a place where synergy would happen. Where
Auf Wiedersehen?
where magic happened. Yeah, where many people came together. It was unplanned. So when all of you came, at the same time, we had Royston came and stayed. He's a choreographer, and he's a bit. Well, he's an extraordinary man, and he works with dance, with choreography in places of conflict. Like he did a lot of work in Northern Ireland. He would not go to South Africa until the apartheid was lifted, and then he started working in, I mean, he works all over the world. He's not young now, he's in his 70s. But Royston was coming to Hazelwood with 29 German young adults with learning difficulties. Now that was already in our diary. It was when you came, Anna, with the children, it was August. We were busy. We had a lot of things happening. And Royston and 29, I mean, it wasn't a huge house. It wasn't masses of accommodation. So if you looked at the diary, you'd go, it's not possible. But Gillian, who was the inspiration for all of us, none of us would be here. None of us would be here, except for Gillian, because she understood passionately about this country. She understood without even knowing. Sometimes she almost read the papers without looking at them. I don't know. She was extraordinary in her deep. She wasn't easy. She wasn't an easy personality, but she had a depth of soul.
I was going to say,
She had a depth of soul that understood this place and its and the beauty of its people, and that was the driving force. So our thing was to say yes, just say yes. Yes, of course we can have this group of children come and stay in August when we've already got the house full, and we also had a very smart Persian weekend, which was classical music, and it was black tie, and it was all smart and all the rest of it. So, you know, that ability to allow life to come together. She didn't know what was going to happen, but she wasn't going to look at it and say this can't happen. And so it looks like a crash about to happen, and yet what happens is it goes like this, and then something utterly beyond can happen, beyond anyone. And so I remember we had a chapel building. I can remember holding a video up, and Royston had his young German young adults with all sorts of learning difficulties. But they knew him. They loved Royston. They used to, they loved him, and he was going to dance with it. They were really on holiday, but they were also doing some dance, and they were going to dance in the chapel. And I think one of us said, can anyone come? And he said, yes, of course, anyone can come. And so this gorgeous group of children that came with Anna joined in. They were very nervous. They were very unsure because the young Germans were a bit different, and they had no barrier. They had no social barrier. So there was a warmth to them and an acceptance.
They'd hug anybody.
But to this group, and I'm saying a group because I don't want to just say Bosnians, because it was, it was a little bit threatening, a bit unusual, and a bit, and it was magic. And I was filming them working together. So Royston did all sorts of funny games with them, and bits of paper, and you take the paper away, and everyone has to get on one bit, but one bit of paper, and the paper gets less and less, and there's less, and so everyone has to hold on and hang on and hug each other. It was amazing. And then he was doing this shadowing, and so I can remember videoing and everyone was doing it, but there was one young boy, and I can't remember his name. He'd lost 11 male members of his family, and he was about 8, very, very beautiful, and he was dancing with one of Royston's young dancers. And at first, so she knew what might happen, she knew how to do this. And this sort of, but suddenly the energy shifted, and suddenly he got it, and suddenly he started moving in with feeling, and it was like, oh my God. And it's like the whole room went silent. It didn't, because other people were doing it, but it was like in that moment, and that the young dancer of Royston's, she said that young boy won't know what happened today, but that moment, will stay with him for the rest of his life. That was the kind of thing that happened at Hazelwood. That timeless, and moments where musicians met each other, like a classical, international classical Indian sarod player met the Medici string quartet, who again are international classical English players, quartet, and they actually, without us knowing in the end, they create a CD together, you know, and it was challenging because Vajahat, this wonderful Indian classical player, you know, his timing is completely different, you know, so he never turned up for rehearsals on time, or drove Paul Robertson absolutely bonkers, but, you know, magic.
May I ask, how come that you now sold Hazelwood?
How come we sold it? Well,
Yeah,
Gillian
is
was
this
killed.
related to
Gillian
change of
was killed in 2013, very, very suddenly. And so Gillian had just turned 70, I'd just turned 60, Annabelle was rising 80. I was actually very ill at that time. I mean, her death was just like, I think, and I wasn't a little bit ill, I was very ill, and I'd been kind of steering. Well, actually, by that time, really, Gillian and I were the only ones who were kind of dealing on a day-to-day level. Not Gillian wasn't running Hazelwood, but we had staff at Hazelwood. By that time, we had chefs. We did everything ourselves. In the beginning, it was just volunteers. We did everything ourselves, everything, all of us. And then gradually people faded away. You know, you employ a housekeeper, then you employ somebody else, then you employ somebody else, and then you don't have the energy, and you know, everything shifted all the time, and then suddenly you have staff. Now staff are never going to work like we worked. Our work was timeless. You know, it went on till it needed to, and every day was different. You know, like some days you rested, some days you worked your socks off. And so, yes, so Annabelle, it was very clear, Gillian did write a will, luckily it was very clear, it was very simple, if one of us died, so we were the three partners, Gillian, Annabelle and I. So one of us died, everything went to the other two. So Annabelle and I were left. Annabelle, you know, was coming to a different place in her life. I knew I couldn't continue to work with the energy that I had worked with, and I needed to deal with the fact that I was ill. I actually had cancer, but I didn't know that at the time. So we struggled to continue, and then Wendy, God alone knows why, because she has a full-time job, and it's another story. But her boss brought her to meet us. She did not want to meet us. She didn't need to come to Hazelwood. She had plenty on her plate. With you know, however, her compassion for the situation Annabelle and I were in, because she could see two people dealing. Because we didn't just have Hazelwood. We had a charity. We had all sorts of other involvements, and we had a lot of debt. And she could see two people who were struggling, and she said, "I'll give you a day." Anyway, it gave us a day, but it gave us hope. Anyway, much to my amazement, instead of asking about the bank statements, which I needed help with, she said, "Why? What was the impulse? Why? What was Gillian? Who was Gillian? What was she? How? What? How did this all begin?" So she asked a lot of questions, and actually what it made me feel, which was interesting, because I was overwhelmed with the amount of paperwork, literally just practical paperwork that I needed to deal with. But I was so relieved, because I thought if anyone can help us, they have to understand right from underneath, because it won't make any sense at all, because it cannot make any sense. And so that's what, you know, so we struggled on for more years
Nearly
than
2
I would
years,
like to have done, because I think if we look back, if we just said, Gillian's gone, you know, the fulcrum of this has gone, and there's no sense in it. Actually, Annabelle knew that, but somehow you can't. But yes, how to get there actually, because when the wheel, and even Gillian used to say about Woodwick, should we sell Woodwick? But how do you do that when the wheels are turning?
You've got to keep the works done to pay the bills.
Yes.
You know how long it's going to be on the market.
Yes.
But at the same time, at that time, you were thinking somebody might come
Somebody
in.
just might come, and
might
somebody
take
did
it
come
forward.
in, and yes, it became a nightmare. They begged us to let them have a go.
But you did want to continue, and I think it's great the
Fair
way
enough,
you
yeah.
allowed that extra time to allow for somebody to come in to take up what
And
Gillian
perhaps
And
because
you-
we thought
it
that was
cost
our, we had to.
Yes, you
because
had
we
to.
had to.
It cost
At
you.
least
It cost us.
Well,
But I think
don't
in a
know, it's part of
way,
the process, I think.
I think
think
it's
go.
Yes,
Let
and
it
to get
go.
us, well, you
It could
know
have-
all about that,
in
and
a
and it's a
sense,
journey.
Yeah.
on an emotional or whatever other
Yeah.
level, you needed time to do that. But what I thought was admirable is that you really tried to give the time for somebody to take up that whatever it was.
Yes,
You really did.
and
that
and when it, you know, when that didn't work, we went, okay, enough. Because we'd said, okay, enough, we're going on the market, and those people had said, one person said, would you give us a chance to have a go? So, okay, we let that go, and it was another 6 months.
And then, yeah,
And
when
then
you said
when
enough
is
on the
enough
market,
on the
within 2
market,
months
within,
it's sold.
honestly, and then it took time. And actually, it wouldn't have been easy just to sell to anybody, because we had, you know, we hadn't had planning, we hadn't permission for
certain things.
on,
So
so
And there was a cellar to empty that was the size of the house that took 6 months on its own.
So, you know, I've always thought the bon Dieu allows you time
Yes.
for what, you might not see it at the time,
Yes.
but it allows you the time to deal with what you've got to deal with.
And letting go is a process.
Yes,
And
exactly.
sometimes the universe
Darling,
offers that opportunity that you, do I want to know I don't? Do I want it? No, I don't. And
Sure.
sometimes you need
and what's
that to be
right and what's
certain.
and you know, in a sense, we were trying to live listening to. Gillian was always, she had an antennae that was, you know, or a thing going around on her head that was trying to pick up, where should I be, where am I meant to be now, you know. It wasn't, I'm going to Bosnia. It's like, where, you know, what is this, you know, what is this invitation, you know, is this what we're supposed to be doing? You know, she was endlessly questioning and waiting to be shown the way forward. So that's really what we were trying to do, was wait to be shown clearly the way forward. It was a rocky road we went on, but anyway, yes, it's sold. It's now a private home. They adore it. It's beautiful. And it's in a different era. It's, you know, and I think the house was tired, and I think the house has gone, oh, phew.
And it's not all
They care for it
But
and
the
they love
charity
it.
is
They do.
still running, right?
the charity's still running.
The charity is only restricted.
Well, I think you still do.
Well, yes. So Wendy is now a trustee of the charity. She gave Annabelle the gift on her 80th birthday. She took over trusteeship, Annabelle's trusteeship. And Jonathan retired prior to Annabelle, so Jonathan also was a trustee for many years, and very loyally so. And now another person who's not very active, but a great friend and someone Gillian knew, was also a trustee. And we've got, you know,
There's still a lot to sort out.
there's a lot, and what we're trying to,
properties and
we're treading water right now to kind of clear the way. We've got bits of woodland and things, which is a passion of Wendy's, and we're just treading water. We're trying to clear the decks, and then I have a feeling, because there are other people who are very intrigued by it, or it has an energy
It
of
does.
its own.
It'll come again.
It will,
It'll
it
emerge.
will, it'll
Well,
emerge again.
Sure,
I
yeah.
think so.
We just got to sort
Yeah, I
out.
think,
We've got
yes,
to
I
sort
agree.
out the legals, get it onto a good footing, and
Yes.
create you know, something to launch from. I don't mean that in a
No,
like,
not
the wrong
launch.
way, the wrong word.
Which,
But it's kind of like something we can let it organically just emerge, and it feels like. I mean, and I don't want to say this because it feels like it's coming from me because my passion is nature, but you know, the fact that, you know, when you look at the dandelion objects, it's about, you know, helping people from traumatic situations, it's about preserving beautiful places and restoring them, and of course, it's got the nature bit in there. And I think the traumatic places, there are people in the world now that trauma is everywhere, you know,
and trauma
and
is
the natural
related to
places.
nature.
And I think exactly, and it's because we've become separate from nature. And if we can just get back to nature, then actually that will help the frequency, it'll just help everything.
Yeah.
And the woodlands that the Dandelion Trust I believe, but I'm not sure that you've been there, but they're quite special. And they could even be a fraction of, we've only got 2% of the ancient woodlands left in the UK, and they could be top
Is it
that 2%. 2% of ancient woodlands, you know, fully
What,
ancient.
untouched?
Ancient.
Untouched.
Ancient, more than like 600 years old woodlands or 400 years old, where you've got a collection of forest. You know, and trees don't like to live on their own. Trees speak to each other, and so to have an ancient woodland is amazing, you know. So to have something like, to be the steward of something like that, which trustees are, you know, it's like, don't sell them, let's just first hold them and see what. Well, listen, just listen. What's needed? Just listen to them.
Well, I'm just saying, and this might sound completely ridiculous, but in one of the Lord of the Rings things, the woodland, when the woodland comes to life.
The ends.
Oh,
Oh my
that
God.
is the most moving thing. When it just knocks you sideways. You think, yes, of course.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
No, it's not. It's
Of
so as it should
It's so
be.
ridiculous that we live in these things, and yeah, it's just ridiculous that we're so far removed from.
Yes.
It's ridiculous. Really ridiculous. It's no accident, I don't think, that I live in Druid Woods on Avon Way.
Oh my
And what was
God.
at the bottom of the table? Isn't that funny?
Oh my
I
God.
know.
What were the trees actually? Those wonderful. Were they oak trees?
Where?
In Lord of the Rings.
I don't know, I'm not
Oh
really
yes, they
sure.
were.
They were
I
oak
think
trees.
they were.
They must have been oak trees, must they?
I love it.
I loved them. I loved them. Oh,
No,
what did you
it
talk
was so beautifully done.
Oh.
I mean, I just think that film, those films,
touched in Jenny.
I was
Particularly
so
so much.
excited when
Oh.
they came out. And I remember Annabelle and I were stationary. We were in Plymouth Cinema. And just seeing the first one. I remember we did have a guest staying at Hazelwood, and I said, I'm sorry, no supper tonight, we're going out. I said, because I cook, I was meant to be cooking, you know, I did a lot of cooking. It was quite early on, I suppose. No, it wasn't early on, but it was a, you know, it was a guy that we knew. And he went, fine, that's fine. So we went, anyway, we went to see that first one. And I mean, I'm not a massive reader, but at 18, and I didn't read as a young child, but my brother shoved this in my hand when I was 18, this bloody great book, and I thought, oh my God, but I was ill, well, I was getting over an illness, and I had a lot of time to read, and I devoured it. I went, oh my God. So to see that first film, and for it to be created, I just couldn't believe that anybody could create what was going on in my head. And Gollum appeared, and it was like, oh my God.
Do you know,
Jane.
look, what we call what Lord of the Rings, I remember I lived in a B&B, right, and it was like a B&B, like with like one room, like one room today.
That we talk.
What?
What is that? Anna, we are talking about
like the room that we're in tonight, you know, it's like when lots of people were homeless in the northeast, and I lived in this bean. I had this tiny little bed, but at the side of me, I made like a little defensive area, and I had these drawers. And I remember one night, because I see things, sometimes I see things, like I've turned over in bed, and there's been a man there, right there, like that, a man. Like I turn over, no. So in this B&B, I turn over, and there was this creature, which I later saw Gollum.
You're kidding me.
Sitting. You never said this. So he was sitting on the drawer, and I remember, and I turned over, and I went. And I just went. and then when I saw this golden creature, I've never watched Lord of the Rings, but I've seen this obviously because he's about everywhere. And I was like. But the only thing is, mine had sticky up ears, so it was a bit more sticky up ears.
It was like, what's his
Honestly.
name?
The arrows, the elves.
Oh, Star Trek.
Star
Yeah, yeah.
Trek.
Oh, but honestly, it was this little creature on the side. Honestly, I've seen things. Like, and then one time I turned over, and this is when I was in bed with somebody. And
I hope he didn't resemble Gollum.
Gandalf.
And I turn over, and there's this man, right, can you imagine, like, there's the end of your bed, and his face was perched, so there's the bed, like that, looking straight at me, beard, brown hair, like, his face, I can see it now, but it wasn't really long, it was like, and I just looked at it, and I just went, and I turned around, Richard, there's somebody in the room, what is it, there's somebody in the room. Quick, get up, put the lights on. And then when I was at university, I had another one, so I'm at second floor, and then I'm lying in bed.
Richard, did he have a fit?
Oh, yeah, there's nobody there. Yeah, but I did I can't remember if you put the light on, but you know, it's like, get over yourself. Anyway, so I'm lying in bed at university, and I'm on the second floor, and I'm lying there, and then I turn on, and oh my goodness, there's a guy with a black balaclava in my room, my tiny room, with like a torch, and my bed's here, the door's there, big window there, desk there, and he's doing this. Like he's looking for something on the thing. I'm thinking, don't move, you can't see you yet, you can't see me, what are you going to do? And through my head I'm going, if he sees me, he's going to have me, yeah? So I'm lying there, and I say to myself, right, any minute now, jump up, go forwards in the bed, and open the door. So I'm like this, and he's still moving all papers about. I dive out of the bed, jump towards the door, and as I do, I put the light on, turn around, there's nobody there.
That's so spooky.
Honestly. It's quite something, isn't it?
It is. Have you been sectioned?
Have I been sectioned?
I don't mean that more.
But I do, I have these like awake.
No, I think it's brilliant that you can actually speak about them.
Yes, absolutely.
But which figure from Lord of the Rings was that?
From what? From where?
Gollum.
From Lord of the Rings.
He was a little creature, Gollum. He was
It's once again.
Because I've got a picture of Gollum in Wellington Airport.
When he was
He's there. In Wellington Airport.
New Zealand.
New Zealand, yeah. And I'll show you. Because a friend of ours was involved with the creation.
Really? Because they filmed it in New Zealand.
Yeah. In Wellington. And it's brilliant.
It's fascinating, really.
For me, what was so amazing about that whole trilogy was that he got onto screen what you imagined or thought you could.
Did you
never
read
got
it?
into screen. No, I haven't. So I need to do that. But I had a sense that it really was. He managed to do it.
I mean, I started reading this thing and I went, oh God, I can't handle this. I can't read the names, I just can't handle this. Then the Dark Riders come across the front, and it's like, and then you're held, and then I was off.
But I mean, I just couldn't believe, oh, the dark light, that those horses
And the sound
and
of
these
them.
feet,
Oh,
and these
the
feet
sound.
that are just the, you know, you could
It's
feel it, and you could
terrifying.
feel it on your
Oh, yeah.
neck, and
Absolutely.
all
Oh,
of
it was
it.
Tolkien. What nationality was he? Tolkien.
It was English, wasn't it?
Tolkien.
No,
With a name like Tolkien.
Yes, I think
Really?
I think he was.
Oh,
I
that's
think he
interesting.
was.
It must have been, because it was set in England, wasn't it?
It was also, for me, that film was all the terrible wars and everything.
Yes.
It wasn't so extreme. I mean, all the creatures actually were not too far removed from being human beings. So it made them all the more terrifying. Even in those great areas in the deep of the thing, those things, they've got a human form to them, so it made them more terrifying for me.
Yeah, of course.
Actually, like reverse science fiction. It's not like
Yeah.
projected
Not
into
trying to
some
make it into
future
completely
society.
different.
It's all
I
about
think it
reflecting
was
back.
here
It's
and
reflecting
now.
here, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Of course,
And
a huge
the
portion of
war
fantasy.
scenes,
Yeah.
Are unbelievable.
you know, the terrifyingness of those war
Well, but
scenes.
who are the really big guys? You know, you've got your orcs, and then who are the really huge ones? I don't know, I'm not very good. Aren't you good on
I
that?
thought they were
Military
large
powers.
orcs.
Military powers.
No,
They
I was
had
just thinking they
names.
had names, didn't they? And I can't remember what they
No,
were.
I can't remember their names, but they were just
Anyway, I'm fading slightly.
right.
I think it's bedtime, isn't it?
Oh, look.
You think?
Yes.
Somebody
Yeah.
share this?
Oh, she's buying for some. Didn't have to do that.
Yeah, they said
She
share.
share. Oh, share. I beg
That was
your
my
pardon.
glass. You
Oh,
can have more. You can, that's
How did we get on to Lord of the Rings?
Trees.
You do.
Connected to
You
nature.
brought the
How did I bring
ents in.
that up?
You brought the
Connected
ents in
to
because
nature.
Connected
Wendy
to
said they're
nature
all
and
talking
trees.
to each other and stuff.
And the trees.
And they're all
I think
interrelated.
it's so wonderful about trees is the fact that they connect with their
That's
roots.
right.
I just love it. And I find it very difficult in my garden because we've got so many trees that we've grown.
Yes.
And the idea of cutting them down is really.
I think you really, and I've had to do that, and you have to talk to them.
You just have to.
And what I've discovered is that there are some trees that have very little root systems, and there are other trees or shrubs, and you're saying, you're having to talk to them. It's a bloody hard job, and you're saying, what are you doing? I'm having to work bloody hard to get these roots disentangled. Yes, I don't like it, but I think I talk to them all the time.
I think as well it's about being conscious. It's about whatever you do, it's about being conscious, isn't it? It's much more systemic. It's not just about your tree in the garden. It's not just about your tree in the garden, though it is, because you have to be really conscious with it, but it's much more systemic. I mean, the problem in the world is more systemic, isn't it?
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
people are just going at trees like
They're
exactly.
just cutting them
Exactly. So the odd tree in the garden, you know, it's just it's kind of embodying something different. And if one tree, for whatever reason, whatever you're doing, it's difficult to say whatever why if it's diseased it has to go or whatever. But it's more than that. It's not that individual. Do you know what I mean? It's more than that.
It's more interrelated than that.
It's just
I don't really know what systemic means.
it means
It goes straight to edge and
it means
they're interrelated.
That's what it means.
well no I mean
The system was created.
But it
of
goes
the
straight
world.
to
No, it's systemic means we've got a systemic problem in the
System, which is
you address it from the top and it goes all the way down into the roots underneath the ground.
no, that's not what I'm saying. No.
Oh.
So what I'm saying,
That's what systemic means.
well, yeah, it can do. If I explain what I mean in this context, is that in the world we're logging forests.
Yeah.
In the world, we don't care about trees, generally speaking. We don't really. We are not connected to nature. That's a systemic problem in the world. Society, systemically, goes around completely blasé, shops till it drops, and does not embody what it means to be connected to environment. Yeah. So that's what I mean. So when we worry about a single tree, actually there's a much bigger problem going on. It's how we address that. Yes, so I think it's right. We have to be conscious about a single tree, but it's also that's the first step, isn't it? It's being conscious about what we do in our own personal lives. It's the first step to break the system that is not conscious about what we do in the environment. It's a systemic, unconscious existence at the moment.
But to be a systemic view of the world is that everything is connected.
That's right.
Through the system, whatever system that might be. And so therefore you need to think, if you're going to actually intervene, what you're doing, not just think of it as a sort of, I'll do this, I'll just cut down that tree. Actually, what is that in relation to the bigger picture?
Exactly.
That's all I.
Yeah, no, that's right, and exactly that, and the problem is that 98% of the population are in that unconscious state of chopping down trees.
98%. Is this
I
as
think
much
it,
as that?
I feel it is.
But also, I think the thing is that actually our whole culture is not looking at the
It's a
culture
whole
as a
narrative.
system. There's a system in terms of the medical system.
Sure.
Medically, we don't look at things as systemically. We don't look at anything
Well, it's
systemically.
separate.
Everything is chopped up into bits, and that's the problem.
That's the problem. Culturally, that's the problem. We're separate from nature. When somebody says to me, "I love nature," it's like it's part of you. How can you say you love nature like it's not part of you? And that's what we're fighting against, isn't it?
It's very problematic.
Not fighting, because that's the wrong language. That's the wrong.
Actually, it's quite shocking
Well,
to
you
me
could
because
also
many people that I meet, they are like, we can have everything that we want, and of course we can buy a computer every day or whatever, and not even thinking about what kind of resources they are actually using. And every time that I ask somebody like, it's winter, you really bought strawberries? Did you ever thought about where they come from? South Africa.
Exactly.
Or when I tell people, like usually people ask me like, how did you get to Boston? And I say, well, I took a bus. Why don't you fly? Isn't that cheaper? Yeah, but I don't fly within Europe. Why? For environmental reasons. And people look at me like, is she completely...
She's busted.
And this is... And I so often encounter that. It's so incredibly unconscious about that. And on the other hand, we are actually very much educated to think about that in school. I mean, when it comes to recycling, everyone knows like Germany is like the recycling nation. We send all our plastic bottles to China so they come back as our clothes, and I don't know what.
But it's interesting, it's like you're having to justify. You have to justify your environmental consciousness. It's like my friend, when she first became a vegetarian, people would say to her, "Why don't you eat meat?" And she would say, "Why do I need to justify it?"
Exactly. And whenever people come with stupid jokes about vegetarians or even vegans,
how is the name from this video? What is the name? How I can say for this video? I don't know. You can say it.
No, I just said that, like, especially because many people are making those jokes about vegetarianism, being vegan, whatever.
Very much.
I can't stand that. Whenever I encounter people making jokes like that, I need to turn around.
Just
It's
even the
ridiculous.
So is that because you're a vegetarian or vegan?
I'm unfortunately only vegetarian.
No, it's not unfortunate. It's just interesting because my husband is vegetarian and found it completely impossible to find vegetarian food for the first 20 years he came here. No, I don't want to.
No, but it is. It's like, you know.
Oh.
Why do you have to justify